VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us on Crosstalk today. Ladies and gentlemen, headlines over the past few months have been very concerning as it relates to Christian persecution. Some have referred to the Christian genocide taking place in Nigeria. Just this week, Nigeria's president has declared a nationwide security emergency. It's not only there. Recently, believers in Mozambique and the Democratic Republic of Congo were targeted with reports of some 20 Christians beheaded. There has been gruesome Christian persecution taking place in Syria. In Eritrea, a number of believers have languished in prison cells simply for following Jesus Christ. Well, our guest today has experienced persecution firsthand and is engaged in a ministry that not only informs, but is actively engaged in ministering to the persecuted church. It's our privilege to have back with us today Paul Popov. He is the CEO of Door of Hope International. They are a voice and a helping hand to persecuted Christians worldwide. When Paul was just 5 years old, his father, Haralan Popov, was a prominent Protestant minister, but he was brutally taken from his family by the KGB in 1948 and arrested on false charges of being a spy for America. Well, our guest today, along with his family, were branded as enemies of the state. Paul, thank you so much for joining us here today on Crosstalk.
Thank you so much, Jim. It is a privilege and an honor to be on your show.
So we've got a lot to discuss today, including part of your own story, which we'll get to a little bit later. But why is it, Paul? Why is there such an uptick in the area of Christian persecution going on?
I would say that the main reason is because there's a revival going on, not only in campuses in the United States among young people, especially young boys, but also around the world, Africa, Asia, China. God is working in these last days in remarkable ways all over the world, and Satan is not happy about it.
He must realize his time is short.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. You know, this coming February 2026 is going to mark 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. It's been the deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II. Your ministry there, Door of Hope International, has been ministering in this region for decades, even prior to this war breaking out. You work with frontline workers there. You help bring aid and relief to families impacted. But I'd like you, through your eyes, Paul, your perspective, comment on what's taking place in Ukraine.
Yeah, the brutal invasion by Putin in a free country like a growing democracy like Ukraine hurt me personally very much. You should know that Ukraine is a very interesting place from a demographic point of view. We have Bulgarians there. I remember in the 70s when I went there, I met Bulgarian churches and they were asking for Bibles. I said, what? You still speak Bulgarian here? To my extreme surprise, the communities, both Hungarian, Romanian, and Bulgarian and other communities were thriving and having a tremendous freedom after the Soviet Union fell. I have been in the country since 1970s and smuggled a lot of Bibles to the country. Actually, when my father came out of prison and was able to join us in Sweden in 1963, his first conversation with me we were walking downtown Stockholm. He said, Paul, Bulgaria and Eastern Europe needs Bibles. Can you help me to print some? And the first Bibles that we printed in Sweden, in Örebro, in the Evangeli Press, was the Ukrainian New Testament. And at that time it was very easy to bring them, although there was a communist rulers in Ukraine, just boxes of was put in a car in Moscovich and driven into the country, no problem. But a few years later, the situation changed, and we had to smuggle the Bibles into the country. But the people in Ukraine are very, very special. It's a Bible belt, and the situation that they are going through in the last 4 years is absolutely abhorring.
Help us understand, what is it that they have gone through in the last 4 years?
I was there in the beginning, Bucha, Kiev, Rovno, all the places, to see the destruction, to see the horrible bombing, to see the innocent people on the street being killed. This has been a war that definitely has Satan's stamp over it. You cannot justify that kind of a horrible activity. Nazism is coming close to it. The fact is that what the Putin has in common, and the Marxist background that he is coming from, reminds me of the Satanist activity of Marx himself. There's one thing that communism has in common with Nazism, is that they both have worship of Satan. Satan worship is going on in a very dynamic way, anti-Christian way, and that is the reason why we are experiencing such horrible treatment of human beings. Not to mention the young people who are taken away from their parents and from their country and brought to Russia. Estimated about 20,000 young people are now not at home, not in their own country, but with strangers in a different country, being indoctrinated into becoming soldiers for Russia and behaving in a non-Ukrainian way. They're trying to destroy Ukraine, basically. That's what it is, the culture, the civilization that they have experienced since 800 after Christ.
But you say the church is flourishing there? The church is growing?
The church is growing. Of course, there's a tremendous amount of worship going on all over the country. Wherever they can gather, they are gathering in big numbers. But like in my last visit there a few months ago, I noticed that the toll of the people, especially the increased bombing in non-military areas, like in various cities, Lvov, Kiev, in Rovno, Poltava, wherever. The fact that you cannot relax. Even me as a temporary visitor, it is hard to know whether you will live in the next half hour or next day or next week. It is very hard to have a normal life. The psychological pressure is very, very high. And one of the things that we have resorted to lately is to help people to leave for a temporary time to another country to rest the psychological minds of especially the young people. I'm thinking particularly about a lady by the name of Christina that needs special prayer right now, where she is going through trembling and not being able to sleep and not being able to relax it because of the sirens is going all the time, and the loud noises of bombs falling wherever they are, near or in the city or near the city.
How is it that how is Door Hope International ministering there in that situation?
We network with organizations like Save Ukraine to help young people to return from the Donbass area, for example. That's not too difficult to do, to help them rescue them from there and to bring them to the western part of Ukraine. However, the problem with bringing young people back from Russia is a very big concern, and I should say that the wife of Donald Trump has been very helpful instrument in bringing attention to this issue by writing a letter to Putin and asking him to release some of those young people. He has actually released 8 children, but it is a small portion of the 20,000 that is still in Russia. But we try to find method, and it's a very big prayer concern for me personally, because it is very hard to find people who are able to go to Russia to find these people and bring them back. It's really, and comparing to Bible smuggling, I had no problem with smuggling Bibles, but this is a challenge.
Yeah. Do you believe the media is accurately reporting on what's going on over there?
Yes, I would say that the media is fairly objective in what is going on and what the issues are and the problems. I have a little problem with the Trump's advisor who is going to Putin and trying to negotiate the peace. I feel that some of those people are a little bit on the wrong side of the issue. We have to be on the people who are suffering and not be on the aggressor's side.
Sure. Okay. Well, so that's going on in Ukraine. You're seeking to minister to families in Ukraine right now through Door of Hope International, and certainly looking for ways in which you can free up those who have been taken captive in Russia.
That is one of the many tools that we have that we can help the people. Of course, food during this time of winter and Christmas, we really are sending a lot of help to for firewood and heating. Just general humanitarian aid is important, but psychologically as well, to know that they are not forgotten is a great help.
Yeah.
Just staying in touch with them on a regular basis in all the corners of the country, because not even in the western part of Ukraine is it safe any longer.
What is their impression of the church in America?
They are very hopeful, and they are looking up to the church in America as a beacon of light, and they are thankful for people in this country who have done a fair amount of money, sent a fair amount of money to help out over the years, and they hope that they will not be weary and stop this support. They are a little bit worried about that, because after 4 years of doing the same thing, it's easy to lose your enthusiasm.
We're talking today with Paul Popov, CEO of Door of Hope International, and our first segment here dealing with Ukraine, some of the matters going on there. But friends, after the break, we're going to go to Nigeria and look what's taking place there, and Syria and Eritrea, and also a special Christmas outreach as well that our guest and his ministry has going to the persecuted. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. You're listening to Crosstalk, coming your way from the VCY American Network.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist and president of the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, in an evolutionary sense, what do the terms advanced and primitive mean?
Chris, primitive animals are thought to be those that evolved long ago, which gave rise to more and more advanced types. Single-cell organisms are the most primitive, and then marine invertebrates, and up to fish, amphibians, mammals, and eventually man, the most advanced of all. Within each mammal type, evolutionists say that the more advanced ones are the ones that are modern, but extinct varieties were hardly primitive. Chris, the whole concept of primitive advances an evolutionary idea which is wrong on the face of it. Evolution did not happen. God created each basic category, much as we see it today. None is more advanced than the other. Each is complex. And that's the way I see it from a back to Genesis perspective.
Visit our website at icr.org. I'm Chris O'Brien. Thanks for tuning in.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America. Paul Popov, our guest today. Our topic, assisting the persecuted church, focusing on what's taking place in a number of nations. And from Ukraine, we're heading over to Nigeria now. And Paul, the headlines have been stunning as to what has been coming from Nigeria. I mean, horrendous persecution taking place. And if you would share with us what's been happening there, and I know that some have called this, just Christian genocide taking place. Open our eyes to what's taking place in Nigeria.
Nigeria is just a symptom of what happens in the center part of Africa in general. Burkina Faso, Mali, many areas of Congo and other places. The Islamist militants who have lost the grip very much in other parts of the world is now forcing forward in a satanic way, persecuting, killing, setting fire of churches and homes, kidnapping school children, especially from Christian schools. It is somebody came up with a figure that 60% of all the persecuted Christians is in Nigeria itself in 1 year. That's a very, very big number. So with other words, it is a place where we have to focus and counterattack and help the persecuted church there in a very special way. Mm-hmm. And this is why we hope that people will not forget. It's easy to forget Africa. Africa is a very difficult continent, and many people have given up hope on Africa, although the church is growing and has been growing for a long time in many parts of Africa. I remember when I was a young boy in Sweden, missionaries came from Burundi and many other places, Kenya and so forth, and showed films and pictures of what they were doing, and I was very impressed with the schools they were building and the education and churches they were establishing. However, that has resulted today in that the Islamic forces that are also experiencing a revival is counterattacking, right, and doing it in a way which is very different from the Christian way, where we show our enemy the other chin, and we preach love. God is love. Mm-hmm. We are trying to negotiate. We try to find some middle ground and so forth. And unfortunately, militant Islam is a satanic force, just like communism was, mm-hmm, Marxism. And this satanic force is going ravaging Central Africa at the moment in a very special way. Yeah. I was encouraged the other day by Donald Trump's mentioning Nigeria specifically, and that something needs to be done, and the government that is receiving $1 billion a year in aid from us taxpayers in the United States. I live in the United States now, by the way, so I feel like an American, although I grew up in Bulgaria and educated in Sweden and lived for many years in Canada. I'm a proud American now, and would like to see America getting involved in both psychological warfare, like we did with the communist Cold War, winning the war over the communist ideology, mm-hmm, to a certain, at least extensive part of the world, especially in Eastern Europe. My country, Bulgaria, is now a member of European Union. We are having a euro as of 1st of January, that is, coming year. We are a member of NATO, and it is a very different story from when my father was in prison in Bulgaria. So the communist has lost more or less over the world, but the other ism that is now challenging us Christians is the militant Islam, and we need to battle, and we need to inform the world, especially those who are in power, that this battle needs to be carried on with big effort.
Yeah, and
intelligent.
Yeah, indeed, Islam being the driving force behind this, and we're seeing some of its tentacles, even here in United States cities, and the persecution against Jews and so forth as well. And I know you mentioned President Trump, and I think even by his calling this out, that has caused the Nigerian president now to declare a nationwide security emergency, and there is really beginning to a worldwide attention to this persecution taking place of Christians in Nigeria. And even though this is happening, despite the mass killing of Christians in Nigeria, I understand that there are many yet that are denying persecution really taking place. I think Sweden's one of those locations that deny the persecution.
Yes, I stay on top of what the debate is in Sweden through listening to the radio on my daily on my telephone, and I was appalled and surprised that there were people, they are on the left side of the spectrum, but they say, oh, no, it's not a Christian persecution, it is just criminal activity. No,
yeah.
It is far away from criminal activity only. There is, of course, criminal elements in the mix, but the majority of the problem is the fact that there is a push around the world for Sharia law to be just like communism was supposed to be covering the whole world, according to Marx and Lenin and so forth. They are trying the same thing now with Sharia law, and this is where the battle is now. It's a spiritual battle, but it is also a physical challenge for us as Christians.
Well, friends, in just a moment, part of the ministry of Door of Hope International is for engaging people to get involved, and we'll talk about some ways in a moment, but helping just to understand what is going on in this realm of persecution. And if you could take a moment to also hear Paul and expose what is taking place on Syria, and to open our eyes to what is taking place there.
Syria is in a very precarious situation as we speak now. There is tremendous hope and possibility for Syria to become a pluralistic, democratic nation, and there is a very big chance that it will turn into a Islamic stronghold again if we do not do what is wise and smart. I remember when I was in Cuba, they mentioned to me that Fidel Castro went to the United States and had meetings with Kennedy, hoping that America would help them in the revolution of turning away the dictator in Cuba. Fortunately, United States turned him down totally and said, "You're a communist, we don't want to have anything to do with you." That is a lesson for us today in Syria. It is true that the present leader is a former Al-Qaeda and former bad guy and terrorist, but he, like I was a communist when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and when I met God, communism disappeared, and I have changed. I'm definitely not a communist. People who know me know that I'm everything else than a communist. So people can change, and I think that we should take the opportunity to support Syria. They have a very difficult situation with three different armies activity. The Kurdish in the northeast of the country is controlling a big chunk of the country, and rightly so. U.S. is helping them. At least 900 to 2,000 American soldiers are there, making sure that the Islamist ISIS does not wake up again. The Turkey is meddling in the other end of the country and pushing their agenda, and then the central government in Damascus, which is a kind of a coalition government at the moment, are in charge of the rest.
Yeah.
And the sectarian groups, the Druze and the Alawite and others, are worried about what the situation is. But the biggest group of people who is very, very worried is the Christians. You know from Syria, from the Bible, this is where Apostle Paul became a Christian. It is a very, very old Christian community that has been existing, probably the oldest Christian community still around today. And they are feeling the pressure, and they are wondering whether they will survive. So many of the Christian community, especially in the north, it used to be about 10% of the population that was believers, primarily of various kind of Catholic groups, but also Protestant. They have left the country. There's basically only 2% left now. Mm. But God is working in the country, and the biblical groups, the Bible-believing groups, are growing, and we are supporting them as much as we can.
Yeah, and Paul, I know we've got other countries we could talk about here, but I do want to notice that Door of Hope International, that you're the CEO of this group and this ministry here to the Persecuted Church, you are ministering to many, and you have a special Christmas outreach to these families, to the persecuted Christians. Tell us about the Christmas outreach.
We believe that Christmas is a very special time for Christians. I remember how it was for me. I can not remember any other time of the year that I was so blessed and so happy and so joyous like Christmas time. And we take this opportunity to minister to young people, children from 6 to 15 years of age, especially in Syria, usually around Damascus area. According to United Nations statistics, 90% of Syrians are poor. Mm. In other words, the economy is after so many years of internal struggles, the country has no economy to talk about, and people are very, very poor. So we believe that this time of the year we need to do something special for all those communities where there is children, and where we can give them not only a toy or help with something fun like that, but also with practical things like warm clothing and boots and other things like that. This is what we do in Syria. We're doing it in Nigeria, and we're doing. And by the way, Nigerians are screaming and asking for Bibles and Christian literature for children with pictures and so forth. So This is one of the good news, in my opinion, from Nigeria, is that the young people are hungry for the Word of God.
Amen.
And so we are sending. They are quite expensive, like over $4 each, but we believe that every young child in the country who don't have their own Bible should have a chance to get one, especially if it has some pictures in it as well, so that it will be easy to read.
Friends, we're going to take a quick break, and after the break, we'll be giving you a website where you can go and even participate in the Christmas outreach of ministering to the persecuted church, a special emphasis on ministering to children, giving them some warm clothes, and also that of perhaps a small toy coupled, with the Bible and so forth as well. We'll be back in 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk.
Often, the sounds of traditional Christmas carols are missing this time of year. The secularization in our society does not want to recognize those carols which point to the Christ of Christmas. VCY America is making available Sounds of Christmas, Volumes 3, 5, and 6. The various selection of Sounds of Christmas features the music of the season as played by Vic Eliason on the digital piano, Hammond organ, and Allen organ. Songs like Go Tell It on the Mountain, O Little Town of Bethlehem, and Joy to the World. These instrumental CDs are perfect for playing in your home, office, or car throughout the season. Each volume of Sounds of Christmas is available for a donation of $6 each, or all three for a donation of $15 to VCY America. Call 1-800-729-9829 and have a Merry Christmas.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America, and friends, our program today is more to, not just informing, but it's also to assist the persecuted church. And the ministry we're talking today, the Door of Hope International, has a plan all in place and to minister, to be that voice, to be that helping hand to persecuted Christians as well. And they actually have a Christmas outreach in helping the persecuted church. And Paul, how is it for those who are burdened to minister to people that they will never meet this side of eternity? How is it that they can minister to them, even in your Christmas outreach?
One of the important thing is that people in the other part of the world where there is persecution going on feel that they are remembered, that they have not been forgotten. So in our way of helping people to communicate through a simple Christmas card or some other tangible way, mail something to them, share the Word of God with them, and so forth. Of course, financially, we need some help to be able to purchase Bibles and to put together the packages and organize the events for Christmas in the various countries. We are not doing it only in Syria, in Nigeria, but also in Bulgaria and Ukraine and other places. So the need for this time of the year is very, very big, and we depend on people who have a heart for Christmas, for persecuted people like I was when I was a little boy.
And friends, let me give you the website, and it's featured prominently right on the home page. You'll find about their Christmas ministry, and the website is DOHI, that stands for Door of Hope International, or DOHI for short, DOHI.org, DOHI, Door of Hope International. And you'll find it right there about being a voice and a helping hand to persecuted Christians and sharing the hope of Jesus this Christmas. You click on that information and you'll find more info there. That's DOHI.org. DOHI.org. Now, in a moment, Paul is going to be relaying his story as well. But before we get to your personal encounter with persecution, you wanted to also tell us about a prisoner who is in Iran right now. Tell us what's going on.
His name is Jakob Kuchman, and he is in the Evian prison. He and his wife went to visit their home country. They lived in Armenia, just north of Iran, and he visited the country, visited friends, and had fellowship with them, and then suddenly the secret police entered in and arrested both of them and gave them a very hard time. Now, after a little while, Elise was able to leave and got out on bail and managed to get back to Armenia. Elisa is now together with her two children there. The children were, when they were in prison in Tehran, the children were left alone, but some relatives and friends took them over the border to Armenia. So from that point of view, the situation has improved. But Jakob himself is still in the Evian prison, and in January he will face the court. As you know, the court in Iran is not exactly a democratic court. They are accusing Jakob for something very horrible, the propagating against Iran by spreading Christianity, propagating against the government, against the state through the promotion of Christianity. That is the crime that Jakob is facing. And I don't know if anybody thinks that we can face the same thing here in America in a not distant future, but the Bible teaches us to remember those that are in prison. We don't have very much of a choice. We might want to close our eyes and say, oh, this horrible, I have my own problem, and so forth, but the Bible teaches something different. Jesus was a forebearer of carrying one another's burden. He was a person that that wanted to spread love, a person who have a compassion for the poor, have a compassion for those people who are down and under. And that is what Christianity is all about. And we as believers in America, we sometimes forget that. We take life and say, oh, wow, I'm happy, I'm so blessed, God is so good to me. And we preach in the churches of how God is love and how wonderful life is in our beautiful country. And we forget that we are brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah. Well, friends, they have summer camp ministry, disaster relief, this Christmas outreach that is going on. You talked about the prayer for a brother in Iran as well. Dohi.org is their website, dohi.org. Now, Paul, just due to the clock, we've only have about 5 minutes here to relay your story. I know you experienced persecution firsthand. Your own father, Haralan Popov, was taken from you when you were just a young boy. He was in prison for some 13 years in communist Bulgaria for his faith in Jesus Christ. And I know this story lives in your mind as if it were yesterday.
Yes, it is something that will never leave me. And the fact that I suffered so much not having food and not having my dad near me, it was very, very, very hard. And I'm, of course, thankful to the Lord that the situation changed, but it took a long time. My prayer every night was, God, bring my daddy home. I'm so lonely. It was a hard time. And many, many years I was asking, why, God, why is this happening to me? But when we were in the most difficult situation, something happened. Once I remember there was a knock on the door. We had no food to eat. And I went to the door to open it, and there was a big pile of grapes, bread, fresh bread, and feta cheese, white Syrian, as we call it in Bulgaria. And God provided, and I looked who was giving us this information, this food, and we couldn't find anybody nearby. It must have been angels who brought it to us. And that is what I will find out one day when I go to heaven. Yeah. But this is what happens. Sometimes angels help. Sometimes people are angels. I remember especially during Christmas time when my mom and dad got married in England, in London, and the churches in England was very much behind my mom as a missionary to Bulgaria. And they remembered us when we were Father was in prison, and they sent parcels. Sometimes the parcel was confiscated by the secret police, but sometimes they came through, and one of them was a fire engine with a plastic made. It was the 1950s, and made of plastic, and had a ladder, white ladder. It was unbelievably beautiful, and I couldn't be more proud of having something that came from abroad that I showed to my friends in school and so forth. It was a unique opportunity. So my recommendation to people is, please remember those that are in faraway places and give them a blessing by some small means. It means so much for they will remember it for the rest of their life.
Now, your dad's story is contained in a book called Tortured for His Faith, and I know normally there is a charge for this book, but you are offering this book on what your father went through and what was going on at that time. You're offering it free to our Crosstalk listeners today, I understand.
Yes, absolutely. We would love to send as many copies as possible to as many people who would like to read it.
And friends, to receive this, again, his father's name was Haralan Popov, and his story is documented in the book Tortured for His Faith. And friends, you can receive a complimentary copy of this book. Now, we'd encourage you to share something that help with the postage and printing of it, but they're sending it out free of charge. They want you to be informed and understand what persecution is. All you need to do is reach out to them. You can call them. I'll give you a toll-free number and also an email address. The number is 877-440-3644. And just when you call, you may get an answering machine. They don't have a big answering service. It's a small staff, but they will take your calls. If you have to leave your message, leave your message. Make sure you speak your phone number clearly or your address clearly. 1-877-440-3644 and ask for a copy of Tortured for His Faith. You can also send your name and address by email to info@dohi.org. Info@dohi, that's DOHI, stands for Door of Hope International, info@dohi.org, and ask for a copy of the book Tortured for His Faith. And you've got this book not only in English, but if people need it in a different language, I know you have it in Spanish and Farsi and other languages as well. They can connect with you and tell you what language they need the book in. Is that correct?
Yes, I would very much encourage people to not call, but to use the email info@dohi.org, because then we get the addresses correctly so that there's no misinformation, because when you speak an address on the phone, it sometimes can be a little bit of an issue. But please if you have email, please use that as much as possible. But if you don't have email, then we would be very happy to take a phone call.
Sure.
In our Glendale office. By the way, Yvette, who is answering the phone there, is from Iran, so Iran is high on our attention span list.
Yes. And so, friends, let me also give you their mailing address. And even if you put a letter in the mail and ask for the Tortured for His Faith, it's Dohi, DOHI, Box 303, Glendale, California, 91209. Pretty easy to remember. Dohi, Box 303, Glendale, California, 91209. If you're writing a letter or if you're sending an email, just mention that you heard Paul on Crosstalk, Paul Popov on Crosstalk, and responding to the offer of the book, Tortured for His Faith. Now, friends, there's much on their website, as well as he mentioned Hakop just a bit ago in Iran and the sentence that he is facing right now. He's got an address right on his website. I don't have time to go through that. He's got various prisoners who are persecuted for their faith and their address, where you can put a letter in the mail to them and encourage them. And again, you'll find that at dohi.org. And when you find the spot there to share their story, you'll find different ones where you can actually write as they are being imprisoned and encourage them. Let them know that you are praying for them. We're going to take a quick break. And friends, if you have a question for our guest today, our phone number to Crosstalk is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. Maybe you have read Tortured for His Faith, can tell how it impacted your life as well. Many have read that book. It's impacted many a life, and I'd love to hear from you as well. But if you have a question on persecution, their Christmas outreach, his personal story, 800-733-9829. Back in a minute on Crosstalk.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Recently, I was listening to the interview again between Norman Dodd and my friend G. Edward Griffin. Norman Dodd was the chief investigator for a congressional committee in the 1950s known as the Reese Committee. They were investigating how major foundations like the Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, Carnegie Foundation were reportedly using their funds to grab up historians to write textbooks for America's students, to not teach the Constitution or the idea of individuality, but the idea of collectivism. And when he was asked why these foundations were doing that, he said, well, it's for a couple reasons. One is they want to redo the Revolutionary War, to roll America back into being a part of Europe and to roll us into the Soviet Union. Well, this seems to fit with Bible prophecy, does it not? A Eurocentric world government. But he also said they wanted to create a administrative state, America into a corporation. That sounds like technocracy.
Friends, as you're listening to Crosstalk here on VCY America, the website dohi.org, dohi.org, and one of the main emphasis of our guest today is to hit the Get Involved button, to get involved. And that is so important to actually get involved, find ways to reach out to political leaders and calling attention to things, ways to pray for prisoners, many different things on the Get Involved button. We've got several people online right now. Let's begin with Lincoln in Mount Vernon, New York. And Lincoln, thanks for calling Crosstalk. You're on the air.
Yes, actually, and I made a mistake. I told her I wanted to comment on Ukraine, but it was really Syria I wanted to comment on. Both of them I find interesting, but for lack of time, I'll address Syria. I think I'm sad to say, and I'm a Christian, and I've been following the Syria situation for quite a while. And that present leader of Syria, after Assad fell, they started killing Christians under that present leader. And the U.S. Media did not tell the truth about the fall of Assad. It was a regime change which started actually in the Obama administration. And I'm also, I think, as much as we are listening to someone who say they're a Christian, we have to be very careful how we get information. Mm-hmm. A good person, two good people to get information about Ukraine and Syria from is Colonel McGregor and Scott Ritter.
Okay. And Lincoln, I'm going to have to stop you there because I know you could talk. We've only got 5 minutes left in the program and others want to talk too. Any response, Paul, to the caller there?
I would like to say that the people who actually go there in person and see the situation over a long period of time. I have been to over 100 countries now, and several times in Syria and in the neighboring country to everywhere, and spoken to hundreds of people, both Christians and Muslims and militant and others. And the situation for me is very clear. We need to help the believers in the country. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that there is no further military activity going on. Yeah. The people who have been killing some of the Christians and destroyed some churches are small groups of militant Islamists, and we need to make sure that the government make sure that those groups don't have any power.
Thank you, Lincoln, for your call here today. Let's go to Jim next in Wisconsin. You're on the air.
Oh, gentlemen, God bless you both for this program today. I just want to tell your guest, I pray for your ministry every day, along with the Voice of the Martyrs. So thank you for all you do. Just been on my heart, since it's Christmas season and people are out caroling. It's just been on my heart, God willing, that I can go out and start doing some caroling and start raising funds for your ministry.
Wow.
God bless you, Jim.
Persecuted Church.
Wow, that is heartwarming to hear. Thank you so much, brother. It is a team effort. We cannot be without you, and you can definitely count on us being on the front line. We believe that the war against Satan, the war against Islam, militant Islam or militant communism, must be fought by many people. Like the war in Ukraine, there's cannons and there's tanks and other things, but it is actually the people who, if you have many people, you can conquer and you can win the battles.
Jim, thank you for the call. For time, we're going to move on to Ryan in North Dakota. Ryan, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Jim. I'm so glad that Paul's on. Paul, are there credible ministries over there in Eastern Europe and Ukraine and all that you really enjoy working with and respect alongside with your ministry?
I mentioned one that helps with the children, Save Ukraine. But most of the contacts I have developed since 1972 when I was there for the first time. It is individual churches and pastors. Mm-hmm. So we have Romanian pastors, we have Bulgarian pastors, we have Hungarian pastors, we have Ukrainian pastors, we have Russian background pastors, and their churches are the center, and through the churches we are reaching out into the community. So some aid goes directly from our friend in Bulgaria, Angel, who is taking some direct help to the military in the front line. But other than that, it is mostly through the churches that we work, that we have established rapport for many, many years. You know, in the old days, corruption was a very big issue in Ukraine, and today I can report that is not happening very much.
Let me squeeze Paul in from Cameron, Wisconsin. Paul, you're on the air.
Hello, yes, Jim, thank you for taking my call. Yes, I will want Paul Popov to describe to me in one word what was it like to be completely without hope and nobody, no family or friends at all, and much being pushed aside to this plain fend out completely for himself and his whoever was.
Sure. So he was a young boy when his father was taken. So, Paul, how would you describe it very briefly what it's like to be separated from family and loved ones?
It is a very lonely feeling. I can tell you that before I became and gave my heart to Jesus Christ in 1953, I went through a very, very difficult time psychologically and in nervous breakdowns and everything. So it is shaking at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, not being able to sleep. This is what Christina experienced in Ukraine right now. Wow. And it is a very horrible feeling. But once you know that Jesus is with you, there is hope.
Yeah, amen. And let me just interrupt because we're down in time here. Thank you, Paul. And just as Paul was in prison, he said, no one stood with him, but the Lord was with him. Friends, let me give you again the website, dohi.org, dohi.org. You can send an email, request a free copy of the book, Tortured for His Faith, writing info@dohi.org, info@dohi.org. If you need to, reach out by phone, 877-440-3644. That's 877-440-3644. Their mail address, Dohi, Box 303, Glendale, California, 91209. Paul, thank you for coming and sharing with us today on Crosstalk.
Thank you so much, Jim. This is a blessing for me to be able to share.
And stay on the line for a moment, if you would. Friends, we thank you for tuning in, and a reminder to be praying for the persecuted church. God bless you. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the Internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.